We're afraid of what people will think, or we're afraid we're not good enough, or we're afraid we're too much. And so we hold ourselves back. When we do that, we're muting ourselves. And there are too many people that are muting themselves in the world. And I, for so many years, was one of them. I've discovered the power of unmuting myself, of showing up in the world in a way that is joyfully expressed and boldly alive. That's something that has been so important to me as I've discovered how freeing it is to be unmuted, to unmute our body and to unmute our ideas and to unmute our desires, to unmute ourselves in relationships and at work, and to be our own advocates and to ask for what we want and need. The unmuted life is a life that is fully alive and fully expressed and confident and clear. And to me, it's the only way that I know how to live now. I know what it's like to feel confined and stuck and small and silenced. And I also know what it feels like to be expressed and alive and joyful and present and seen. And it's so much better of a life to be unmuted. And that is what I want to bring you into. Are you ready to unmute yourself? Let's make it happen. Hi there. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rachel Druckenmiller, and welcome to Unmute Yourself. I'm so excited to see so many of you in the chat today. Jason, hi, Jason, welcome. Nathan, Cindy, bringing the sunshine as always, right? Right, Cindy, that's what you do. That's how you roll. Kamal, so glad you could be here. Yay. Marie, wonderful to have you with us. Hi, Peanut. I think that's my dad. Hi, Dad. Maureen. Oh my gosh, we've got Maureen and Toby back in the house, regulars for the past year and a half. So good to see you back here. Daniel Hall, who made that amazing intro video, like every single time. I mean, so talented, right? So talented. Jill Porter, we got to catch up. What was that? 2 weeks ago? I don't know. It's a blur, but it was so good to connect with you. If you're here, let us know where you're joining us from. Hi. Rich. Rich is back. We've got the most amazing group of people here today. Evelyn, welcome. Stephen. I know Stephen knows I was just in his neck of the woods in New York City over the past 4 days. So fun. Tom, good to have you here. Oh my gosh, I'm already feeling like all of the support and the love. We're going to have a great show today. We had to do a little bit of a pivot due to scheduling, but our guest who was going to be here today is going to be here in April. So no worries, just a little bit of a delay, but we're going to have an amazing show. Let us know where you are joining us from. I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, and I just spent the past 4 days in New York City. I hadn't been there in 4 years, and my husband and I went for his spring break, and we had the best time. We had the absolute best time. We saw 2 shows, Sweeney Todd and Six. Six was hilarious. It's about the 6 wives of Henry VIII. And it was just an awesome cast, and the songs were so fun. Highly recommended if you get a chance to see it. And we also got to see a Knicks game, a New York Knicks game, and some of the cast from Ted Lasso, one of the best shows on television ever, they were there. Jason Sudeikis and Tahib and Brendan Hunt, and then the guy who plays McAdoo, the captain of the team, were there. Yes, so super fun. Maria, welcome. Yay, Veda's here from Toronto. Leonard Young. You know those people on here who are just so supportive and so kind, and they go out of their way to make you just feel reminded of your goodness. Leonard Young Jr. is one of those people. Veda is one of those people, like always just sending these, personalized messages. I mean, all of you here, frankly, are like that. Naga, welcome. Let's see. I didn't want to make sure I didn't miss anybody else. Tracy, welcome from Florida. Good to have you here. Yes, so fun. So today we're going to be talking about how we can overcome self-doubt. You can drop in the comments. You can say, I have, if you have ever struggled with self-doubt. You can drop that in the comments and let us know. I have struggled with self-doubt. and overthinking things and wondering whether or not I have what it takes. And this is something that I'm finding is more and more common, that just about everybody I've ever met, if they're honest with themselves and each other, right, recognizes that this is something that, that we all experience as human beings. And I'm going to share with you some very specific ways that I have kind of moved through it. Some very practical things that you can do. I'll field your questions. So if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the comments during the show today, and I will do my best to answer it. All right. So we're seeing some I haves. Oh, welcome, Bradley and Yolanda. Oh yeah, Yolanda's here. Carla, welcome. Oh my gosh, so many amazing people. Sharuna, good to have you here as well. Struggled many times. I have. Looks like a lot of people are saying yes. I've struggled with self-doubt and imposter syndrome and over-analysis. And Sharuna, thank you for your kind words. Did a little something different with my hair today. It's just what it is. Oh, Aaron G, welcome. Tracy says, I've struggled with this my entire life, more than I'd like to admit. Hey, join the club of people who have struggled with self-doubt. And again, if you're going to walk away from here today, my intent is that you walk away feeling more empowered, feeling more encouraged, feeling more convicted about your own goodness and sense of possibility. That's what we're in for today. That's what we're going to be doing. But first, I want to get started with a question that I want to invite all of you to reflect on in just a moment. A week from today, I will be speaking and singing at my high school. I went to an all-girls private high school and in Baltimore, Catholic school, and I was very shy. A lot of people are like, there's no way you were shy. No, I was shy and reserved and guarded, and I was kind of timid. And, I was definitely not somebody who wanted to be in the spotlight. I avoided theater. I avoided choir. I avoided debate. I avoided anything that would have required me to do any type of performative anything, being on a stage, getting attention, anything other than raising my hand to answer questions in class, which is something I did feel comfortable and confident about. So, yes, I'm going to be singing. Yolanda asked if I missed your singing, there's going to be 2 little singing surprises during the show today that I'm going to sprinkle in. So yay for that. That's going to be coming. So you have not missed anything. So, I am going to be speaking at this place where when I was there, I refused to sing on a stage. I avoided choir. I remember being in the auditorium watching everybody else on the stage, dozens of people in choir, while I was sitting in the audience with hundreds of my peers, wishing I was on stage. But at that point in my life, I let doubt dictate how I showed up. And I let my doubt win out. And I allowed that to silence me, to mute me, and to say, ooh, the fear and the risk of screwing up in front of anybody, that is way too big. That is way too big. We're not going to take the risk. I know you love to sing, Rachel. We're not going to do that in front of people right now. It's too risky. And so as a result of that, I ended up, again, silencing myself for so much of my life and certainly of my youth. We had to do a project in my guidance class, my sophomore year of high school, and they asked us a question. They said, make a list of all of your occupational daydreams, all of the things you've ever wanted to be, starting with the most recent one, and then going back to the very first thing you ever wanted to be, that you can ever remember having as an occupational daydream. So right now, what I'd like all of you to do, this is a fun way to get to know each other. I want to invite all of you to drop into the comments and let us know, what is something when you were younger, what is something you wanted to be when you grew up? What is something you wanted to be when you grew up? No matter, I don't care how ridiculous it is. I don't care how impossible it seems, how improbable it seems. I want to invite you to drop in the comments, what is something that you wanted to be when you grew up, when you were younger? I'm going to share my list in a moment, but I want to give you a moment to share that with us, because this is something interesting. There's always a little bit of something I find about who and what we wanted to be when we were younger that is still often true or shows up in some way when we're adults that we've often disconnected from. Because again, we allow doubt, or we allow what other people think we should be doing dictate how we actually pursue that path in our lives. I love this. Okay, a chef. Veda, a singer. Look at this. Marie wanted to be a lounge singer. Stephen, a marine biologist. Tom wanted to be an NFL football player. Bradley wanted to be a basketball player. Let's see. Oh, Sarah Patterson wanted Wanted to be Syracuse's mascot. That's hilarious. My husband's a Syracuse basketball fan, Sarah. Marie wanted to be a pediatrician, Evelyn a ballerina, Yolanda a teacher, Maureen a pilot, Carla a teacher, Toby wanted to be an artist, a writer, a park ranger in a national park. Erin wanted to be a remote producer for Voice Your Vibe. Erin, you're so funny. Voice Your Vibe when you grew up. Let's see. Tracy wanted to be a truck driver because my father was a truck driver. Now I don't love driving, but love the freedom I thought he had. Ooh, interesting perspective. Kaylin, hey Kaylin, wanted to be a poet with a bookstore in the first level of in her house. Erin doesn't want to grow up. Kamau says, I loved trains and still do. I wanted to be a train conductor. My dad, a vet. Nathan wanted to be a general. Hey Travis, wanted to be a musical artist. Bill wanted to be a pilot. We've got a couple pilots, couple musicians, couple teachers here in the group. I mean, isn't this interesting that if you ask a kid what they want to be like 10 things. And then by the time we're 15, you're like, you got to pick one. You got to know it now. Like, how ridiculous. When I was a sophomore in high school, I did this exercise and I wrote down, I'm going to share with you my list. So I wrote down, I was 15 3/4 years old when I did this. And the most recent thing I wanted to be when I was 15, the thing I wanted to be, I thought in that moment, was a psychologist. So psychologist was number one. Second thing I wanted to be was a doctor. So going back in time, the things I remembered I wanted to be, a doctor. And then before that, a nutritionist. Before that, a writer. Before that, this is like from left field, y'all, because I loved math growing up. A mathematician. When I was 10, I wanted to be a mathematician. And then the very first thing I ever wanted to be, was a singer. The very first occupational daydream I ever had was a singer. And now at 38, I'm pursuing that, not as a full-time career, but like as part of what I do. And I think it's so important for us to not lose sight of some aspect of who we wanted to be, when we grew up, when we were younger. I also want to mention here, one of the reasons so many of you are here, one, you're just such a loyal community. But there's an analytics software that I use called Peekaboo Live, and it allows me to be able to, and my team to be able to reach out to and invite you to this show because you consistently show up as people who comment and engage with the things that I post here on LinkedIn. So just as a heads up, like the more that you engage with different people on this platform, the more you can get the opportunity to be the first to know about cool stuff, like who's coming next on the show and different announcements that are going to be happening. So I just wanted to mention that as well. All right. And yeah, Cindy, you're so right. Never too late or too old. Never too late or too old to even pursue at least part of it and imagine what could be. So again, we're going to be talking about self-doubt today, just to kind of reset the show today. I'm your host, Rachel Druckenmiller. And what I'm going to invite you to do is at any point, if you have a question about a struggle that you're having around self-doubt, feel free to drop it in the comments and I will get to it. I'm going to share some insights as well. And as I mentioned, I will be singing a couple of times because I said I would, and I'm true to my word, So I would invite you to do that, to think about what is a doubt that you've had, or what is a question you have, or an insecurity, or something that you're struggling with or working through that you would love to have my insight on. Feel free to drop that in the comments at any point during the show, and I will address that. So as we're talking about self-doubt, one of the things I want to mention is this. We hear about other people having self-doubt and we think about our own experience of it. And a lot of times we feel like, oh, I'm probably the only one. Like I'm the only one that feels like I'm unqualified. Or I'm the only one that feels like I don't have what it takes. Or I'm the only one who feels like I'm pretending. Or I'm the only one who doesn't have the skills and capabilities and expertise and experience that all these other people have who seem to know what they're doing. Or I'm the only one that shows up and doesn't feel confident. And we stay in that spot and we feel isolated, and it's that sense of isolation and those beliefs, those narratives that we carry around in our head that are the things that cause us to stay stuck and to not move forward and to not try and to not put ourselves out there. And think about all the things that you miss out on in your life. What are all the things that you're missing out on in your life because you are allowing your doubt to dictate what you do? What are all the things you're missing out on? I'll give you an example. One of the reasons I'm still terrible at volleyball, which is like a fun sport to play, if people are out in the summer and just like there's a net and there's a ball and people want to have a good time, is because when I was in high school, and not even just in high school, for most of my life in recent years as well, if I know I'm not going to be really good at something, I don't really want to try it. And if I think I'm going to embarrass myself, I'm like, I'll just sit on the bench and cheer for everybody. And I think back and I thought, gosh, what if when I was in high school where we were in gym class learning how to do all this stuff with volleyball, or in the summers at the pool or at a beach or something, what if I had just let myself be bad? What if I'd let myself not be good at it and didn't have judgment around that? Like, could I have actually maybe had fun instead of been in a place of such insecurity? Probably. And there's something like that. You have your own version of volleyball, right? You have your own version of singing, where you've held yourself back. And as a result, you've missed out on an opportunity to experience joy and connection because you're letting doubt hold you back, right? That's what doubt can do. Doubt can cause us to hold ourselves back. And Ligia, welcome. I know we've had some other folks join us. So good to have you all here. Today, we're talking about self-doubt. So when we think about that, right, that sense that this is something that everybody has, if we just normalize it and say everybody experiences doubt. Everyone has struggled with the fear of rejection. Everyone has felt like, gosh, if I do that and I mess up, I'm going to be totally humiliated and fall flat on my face. All of those things are a possibility. But if we don't put ourselves out there, if we're not willing to try, then we'll never find out. Like we would never, ever know. And I think of a situation that came up. I was facilitating a one-day summit for a group of about 200 women in North Carolina last week, or the week before last. I don't know. It's a blur. And at one point I was talking about, how you can unmute yourself. And we were talking about all these different ways we can unmute ourselves and connect to our greater levels of confidence. And one of the things that I shared with everyone that I'm going to ask you to get your phones out as I ask this question, because I'm going to invite you in real time to do this with me. This is one of the ways we move through doubt as we take action. We don't generally get more confident by thinking about it and running scenarios through our head 50 more times. We generally get more confident by doing it. We just get more confident. Like when I decided to start a live show, oh my gosh, how do I do it? Well, you work with somebody like Tim Sohn who knows what they're doing on setting it all up. And then you just show up and be yourself and invite people into community and connection and see what happens. I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. But y'all make it fun. And so, I feel like I get to show up here and have conversations with cool people and get your insights and hear your stories and encourage and support and uplift you. And that feels fun to me. So I'm going to keep doing it. But there were some questions that, exactly, Jill, anxiety and self-doubt, the avoidance feels good in the moment, but makes it worse in the long run for sure. Absolutely. And I think we've all experienced that. And Toby, I'll speak to your comment as well. Sometimes we feel like we're an outsider. I felt that way at work in my corporate job. I was wired very differently than everyone else I worked with. And sometimes the greatest gift we can give ourselves is just an acceptance that we're different. And it took me a really long time to get to that spot. And I resisted the fact that I felt so different from everyone else I worked with. But I was meant to be an entrepreneur, and so part of it was I was going against my own wiring. And so sometimes when we're going against our own wiring, there can be that tension. But also just if I'd come to a place sooner of accepting myself of, oh, this is how I am. And I may not be for everybody and I may not be accepted by everybody. But I think I'm pretty darn cool, And so part of it can just be telling ourselves that story. But there's a couple questions that a coach, Lori Raggio, she and I got together about 5 years ago. And there were two questions that she asked me. We were sitting at a table together and she asked me, and I would encourage each of you to do this as a follow-up from today. She asked me to write down a list of people in my life that knew me well. So loved ones and coworkers and professors and friends, family members, to make a list of people. And then she said, I want you to call one of them and I want you to ask them these two questions. What shows up when I do? What qualities do I bring into a room? So I want you to pick up the phone and I want you to call someone and ask them that. So what I'm going to ask all of you to do right now, who's ever willing, remember, confidence is the byproduct of action. You do the thing, you get more confident. You do the thing, you get more confident. You do the thing, you get more confident. I'm going to ask each of you, and now for anyone that has my number, I would ask you not to text me during this part just so I can be fully engaged. I'm happy to share this feedback offline, but for the time being, I will not be checking my phone. So I'm going to ask you to think of somebody in your life. Think of somebody in your life, and Laura will come to your questions. Maybe Tim, if we can flag that question from Laura. Think of somebody in your life who knows you well. Someone that you're like on good terms with, not someone who's a challenge for you, at least not for this first part. And I'm going to ask you to text them that question. What shows up when I do? Those two questions. What qualities do I bring into a room? So I'd ask you to take a moment. What shows up when I do? What qualities do I bring into a room? What shows up when I do? And I ask you to take a moment and do that right now and think of someone and text them. hold your breath. No. Breathe a little bit after you do it. It's really scary, I understand. But we're talking about doubt today, and sometimes we're not even willing to get feedback from other people. And that's one of the ways that we move through doubt, is we get a clear, reflected picture back of ourselves from people that know us well. And then we realize, oh, wait, that's how people see me? Gosh, maybe I can move forward with this. Maybe I can try this. Maybe I do have what it takes. So sometimes we have to, and I talk about this a lot, I talk about borrowing other people's belief in us. Sometimes, so what we're doing right now is borrowing other people's belief in us. So drop in the comments once you've done it, type done in the comments. I'm going to just put on a little background music of a song that you all know. So again, you're going to ask the questions. What shows up when I do? What qualities do I bring into a room? You're going to text people that question, right? Just one person. You're going to text one person that question and type in the comments done once you've done it. This is a way that we can begin to move through our feelings of self-doubt, those thoughts that keep us feeling isolated instead of connected, the ways of thinking that hold us back and limit what is possible in the world. I love it. Tim's done. Tom's done. Maria, I think, oh, thank you. Awesome, Maria. Maureen's done. Send a text to somebody that you know. Veda's done. What shows up when I do? What qualities do I bring into a room? You might get a response like, huh? Why are you asking me that? Don't give an explanation. Just say, I would love to know. Tracy's done. This is a practice you can get in the habit of doing regularly. Even on a monthly basis, Yolanda's done. If you're just joining us, again, the question is, what shows up when I do? What qualities do I bring into a room? Jill's done. Maria's done. Love this. When we start to ask questions like this, we start to shift the narrative of how we see ourselves. Carla's done. When I was younger, I had this narrative that I carried in my head of how I thought people saw me. I thought people thought that I was, this is what I thought they saw primarily. Toby's done. That people thought I was shy, that I was intimidating, that I was bossy, that I was selfish, that I was too much, that I was a goody two-shoes, that I was a perfectionist. I had, certainly that I was smart, but also that I didn't fit in, I didn't belong, I wasn't invited. These are all the narratives I carried in my head. And after I did this exercise that you're doing right now, I did this exercise with about 12.5 people, and I got a totally different picture that started to actually shift in deep inside of me how I saw myself. Because people said things like, you have a calming presence and an excited energy, that you're refreshing and real and authentic and disarming and grounded. These are not things that I necessarily saw in myself. Texted too. I love this. But this is, Rich did it too. Awesome. Thanks, Rich. Leonard, thank you for letting us know you did that. This is something that we can get into the habit of doing. And what I did, I wrote them down. I wrote them down in a journal. I typed them up in a Google Doc, and I had a running list that I would add to each time I got a response from somebody else. And what I would start to do is I would start to read that list from the people that know me well to find out what they were saying. And I started to take that in, and I started to internalize that. And I started to ask myself, what if they're right? What if they're right? What if they see is what actually is? And what if all the insecurities I have and that I've carried my whole life about who I am and how I think people see me, what if they are somewhat flawed? What if they don't capture or represent the full picture? What if that's the case? As a result of that, as a result of doing something like that, we can begin to shift things. It starts inside. It doesn't start with telling yourself, like staring in a mirror being like, I'm great, if you don't actually believe it inside. Like you have to start to shift like inside in your bones how you see yourself, not just repeat a bunch of empty mantras that you don't actually believe. It is so important to do this work internally. And I love this. Aaron says, Maria Rouse projects dancing light and a forever smile filled with joy. Maria, how about that? And I appreciate what you said. And Toby said she did something similar for a 360 evaluation in leadership, Baltimore County. And she kept the report and has it on her desk, even though it was done 6 years ago. These words are powerful. The things people say about us are really, really powerful. And so it's important for us to keep in mind, Maria, you mentioned, I like to know where I can improve. So there's another way that you can ask this question. Once you've built up your confidence by asking, what qualities, what shows up when I do, what qualities do I bring into a room? You can ask, what qualities or characteristics do I show up with when I'm being least effective? That's something that you can ask once you've built up the confidence side of things and you have a grounded sense of, all right, I'm good in these areas. Like, I've got this. Then you can start to ask sort of a secondary question of, what qualities or characteristics do I show up with when I'm being least effective? Give me one or two. Start there. Don't ask for floodgates to open because that can be overwhelming. Say, hey, can you tell me one or two qualities or characteristics I show up with or behaviors I show up with when I'm not being effective? Maria, let me know if that's helpful. Oh, Maria, I love that. Marie said, the response I got totally surprised me. How about that? Like, screenshot that, Marie. I hope it was a good surprise. Based on 2 exclamation points, I'm guessing it was. But that's something that you can do, right? That practice. I asked 18 people that question, and I got more and more comfortable asking it the more and more people I asked. And what I found was like, that started to shift things. And again, there's an article that I'll share that I'll drop in the comments after. I wrote a LinkedIn post sometime last year, about 6 questions to ask to boost your confidence and clarity. We will drop that in the comments at some point, either during the show or after the show today. It includes that question and 5 other questions you can ask yourself. Just a heads up if you're looking to build your confidence there. Buddy, I'm so glad that you've done it. And Kamau, welcome. And I'm glad that you've done it as well. Okay, awesome. Oh, and Aaron says, Cindy Cohn projects a motivating energy with deadly flames. Frames, that's awesome. So that's one thing you can do, is you can start to ask for feedback from people about how they experience you. What shows up when you show up? What shows up when you are being most effective? What are your superpowers? There's all different ways of asking those questions. And as you start to shift that, you can begin to rewrite the narrative about how you see yourself. That moving through self-doubt piece is an inside job. It's an inside job. I can tell you, I've stood on stages and I've spoken in front of tens of thousands of people collectively over the course of my career. And words of affirmation are my love language, and I can hear them. And then I can have one comment that just tears me down a little bit. And I can allow it to overwrite all of the good that came before it. And I don't think that's an uncommon experience. I think all of us have that tendency to just like let one thorn stick in our side when we've got a dozen roses. And it's like, we don't realize that. So I would invite you to pay attention to the roses, and welcome. Jesse's here too. Journaling, Jesse says journaling is one of the most effective ways to build our own trust. Yes, once we can start holding ourselves accountable for living out our values, we can stop breaking promises to ourselves and feel more confident as a result. Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a tool that I love for that called VIA. It stands for Values in Action. There's a link we can drop in the comments after. It's also on my website. If you go under unmutedlife.com, under resources, I list out my favorite assessment tools to use. There's some questions coming in. How about I answer those questions and then I'll break with a song after a couple questions. Maria, how do you maintain a calming attitude? I think part of it is when you've been through a lot of difficult things in your life, and all of you I know have been through hard things. The more you go through difficult things and realize that you can make it through them, the more you recognize that, like, all right, so if I mess up something on a stage, is that really the biggest thing? I'm like, I've survived like getting hit by a pickup truck, like breaking my back, or gotten through mono, or gotten through relationship difficulties, or gotten through, illness, or the loss of maybe someone has a loss of a job. Part of it is reminding yourself, I've made it through everything so far, and I don't think this is going to be the thing that's going to take me down. I have the ability to recover. So part of it is just reminding yourself that I get to choose the story I tell myself about what is happening right now. I get to choose the story I tell myself. So when I'm about to go on stage, years ago, I would have felt like I was nervous and I'm scared, because I'm going to mess up. But now when I feel all that energy, my heart feels like it's pounding before I take the stage. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. It's an interpretation. It's called a reframe. When you reframe what you're experiencing in the moment, it can help you have a different experience of the moment. And so part of it is that as a result of the number of times we do a certain thing too, we build up more confidence and calmness. So at this point, I've spoken to groups of people, over 1,000 times. And so as a result of the number of reps I have doing that, I'm like pretty confident in my ability to stand in front of a group of people and speak and sound somewhat coherent and to be somewhat useful because I've done it enough times. And I also seek feedback after every keynote that I do, after every workshop I do, I seek feedback from the audience. And so I'm able to find out what's resonating and what's not. And because it's just like, it's like weightlifting. It's like another rep, you get stronger, It's the doing of the thing that makes you feel more stronger and more confident, so that you can show up with greater calmness, because you have just this inner assurance that like, I'm going to be okay. You're trusting, as Jesse was mentioning, you're developing this trust in yourself because you've shown up time and time again and shown yourself that you can do it. So that's what a lot of it is, right? When you recognize you've gone through hard things before and you've survived every single one of them, that you, even if this totally bombs, you'll get through it. So I think back, I'll give you an example of this. Ready for a song? Let's do a song. If you're ready for a song, oh my gosh, you're so kind. I'm seeing some of the comments here. Aaron, you're very kind. Thank you. Here's a reframe situation. When I was a senior in high school, I decided to take voice lessons for the first time. I had never gotten any training in singing before, and I had avoided singing in front of people because I was not a performer. Story I told myself in my head, you are not a performer. You do not perform in front of people. That is too scary. So I did not perform in front of people. Senior year, I signed up for voice lessons with the intention of just like getting better at singing. Not because I had any intent to perform or be on a stage, but just because I wanted to get technically better for my audience of one person, I suppose. And so I took voice lessons, and I remember one of my first lessons, my instructor said, what song are you going to be singing for the year-end recital? And I said, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that. I don't sing in front of people. I will not be performing at a recital. And she said, oh, well, all of my students pick a song. I said, oh, like, good for them. That won't be me. And eventually, with a little poking and prodding, she nudged me to challenge myself to move past my doubt and to do a song. I picked the song Angel by Sarah McLachlan, which is like, whew, talk about a heavy song. I mean, I at the time when I was 17 singing it, didn't know what it was about, but it is a heavy song about her losing a friend, I believe, to a drug overdose. Like, so pretty heavy. Now, when I got up to take that stage, I was nervous. I was not excited. There was no reframing and interpreting when I was feeling as excited. I was very scared and very nervous. And I got up, the piano started playing, and I stood there in front of this group of people, felt like I was shaking inside and I probably shaking outside, and I could not wait to sit down from the time I stood up. As the song started playing, I felt like my jaw was locking and I felt like nothing was coming out. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the worst. Like, this is my worst fear. My worst fear is I would get on stage and I would blow it. And that's what I felt like I was doing in that moment. Like, I totally blew it. And I couldn't wait to sit down. And when I sat down, I wasn't like celebrating myself. I was like, thank goodness that's over. Thank goodness that's over. I was like an out-of-body experience. I did not want to be up there doing that. And so fast forward a couple of years, I studied abroad in Spain in college, and I had joined the gospel choir because you didn't have to try out, which is why I wasn't in the choir in high school. You had to try out. So I joined the gospel choir because they looked like they were having so much fun. And I came back from a semester in Spain, and I found that sometimes taking ourselves totally out of our familiar zone can also breed a sense of confidence in us. Because we're like, I can make it through surviving in a country that's not my own, that doesn't speak my language for 4 months. I could probably do some other things. So I came back from that experience and I tried out for a solo for gospel choir, and I got the solo, and it was this really awesome moment. And I know I shared that song and that experience and story when we interviewed Darcy, one of my vocal coaches, this time last year. And, that was the beginning of me starting to share my voice. And so, fast forward a couple of years, about in the spring of this time in 2021, I started taking voice lessons again for the first time in almost 20 years, because I wanted to really start to connect singing with my speaking. And I decided I wanted to record the song that I had sung in high school that I had been too scared to sing. And, I shared it here on LinkedIn, and people were so kind and gracious. And so what I thought I would do right now, do y'all want to relive my senior year concert? Send me all the good vibes. I'm going to, in just a moment, just give me a second to just get a little sip of water here. And I'm going to sing a song for you and to show you that it is possible to move past our fears, to move past the thing that held us back at one point in our life. And even if it's 20 years later, that growth is possible and that we have the capacity to move through things that once scared us, to come to a place of, as Maria is alluding here, a place of inner calmness. And even if we don't feel calm, of coming to a place of saying, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. Because it's what's in my soul to do and to share and to say and to give. Not because I hope that everyone on the other side of it is going to think I'm the best, but because I have to do it. I feel compelled to share the thing that's in my heart. So yeah, and Aaron says, how do you get through a table of food? One bite at a time. Yep. How do you get through a song? One note at a time. So here you go. This is a song that I sang for my senior year voice recital, and I hope that you all enjoy it. Spend all your time waiting for that second chance, for a break that would make it okay. There's always some reason to feel not good enough, and it's hard at the end of the day. I need some distraction. Oh, beautiful release. Memories seep from my veins. Let me be empty, oh, and weightless, and maybe I'll find some peace tonight in the arms of the angel. Fly away from here, from this dark, cold hotel room, and the endlessness that you fear. You were pulled from the wreckage of your silent reverie. You're in the arms of the angel. May you find some comfort here. So tired of the straight line, that everywhere you turn, there's vultures and thieves at your back. The storm keeps on twisting, keep on building the lies that you make up for all that you lack. It don't make no difference escaping one last time. It's easier to believe in this sweet sadness, oh, this glorious sadness that brings me to my knees in the arms of the angel. Fly away from here, from this dark, cold hotel room, and the endlessness that you fear. You are pulled from the wreckage of your silent reverie. You're in the arms of the angel. May you find some comfort here. You're in the arms of the angel. May you find some comfort here. take my reverb off. Isn't that fun? I got this little reverb thing on my Rodecaster. You know, like it doesn't necessarily get tremendously easier. There's still moments of doubt, and there's still moments of what if I mess up? And then we do mess up and we survive it. And it's okay. And it's okay. But imagine what the world misses out on because you are so busy judging yourself and whether or not you're good enough. What if your 60% version is enough? What if it's enough? What if that's enough? Thank you all for your kindness, Aaron. Oh my gosh, y'all are so kind. It's just, Toby, I'm seeing the puppies and kittens in the shelters use that version. Yeah, like, oh, Toby, I want to skate. I want to dance with love. And I want to sit with a friend, just loving the sunshine and gentle breeze and the love. It comes back to the love. It does. For me, it's like singing as a form of love, you know? And we have to be willing to try. We have to be willing to try. Oh, Maureen, I'm glad too. I'm so glad you're here. I just love seeing your names come up in the comments. It's so awesome. That's your self-care for today. Oh, wonderful, buddy. This is what's possible, you know? Like imagine if I had decided that I was going to stay stuck in the 13-year-old or 17-year-old version of myself saying, nope, no singing. Or if I'd stayed stuck in the 25-year-old version of myself or the 30-year-old version of myself, like, you know, like I would miss out on the opportunity to positively impact other people. And it's not about doing it perfectly. I didn't sing that song perfectly, but it's about doing something with feeling and with emotion and with conviction and with authenticity and with joy and with courage. That's what people notice. That's what people feel. And when you show up with whatever the gifts are that you have to offer the world, and you do it in a way that's unapologetic, and you do it from a place of love, and you do it from a place of joy, and you do it with an intent to serve people because you know someone needs to hear it or see it or sense it or experience it, then you're doing what you're called to do. And even if you mess up, and even who gets to decide what messing up is? You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like who gets to decide that a thing didn't work? Like you do. You know, you do. I'd rather sing something Darcy said to me last year I shared on the show is she said, forget the notes, sing the intention. Forget the notes, sing the intention. I'd rather listen to a singer that is technically not perfect, but emotionally expressive and honest than I would to listen to someone who gives a pitch perfect performance with no emotion. And I think all of you would agree. And that is true with no matter whether, even if it's not singing, right? Whatever your form of expression, whatever your gift is in the world, people want to feel it. They don't just want to experience it being perfect, right? Like that's what matters. That's what matters. So we get to that place of overcoming self-doubt by doing the thing. I don't get any more confident singing by myself in a room to myself. I get more confident singing when I press a little button and I'm like, ee. And then I show up and then I sing for you. And it's a rep. We talked earlier, it's a rep. It's a rep. It's doing the thing. It's trying the thing. Before I launched a business, I was working in a corporate job for 13 years. So I had a steady paycheck and everything that was predictable that you would have in a corporate job. And I took a risk. I took a risk to bet on myself and to decide that maybe I had what it took. And so much of that comes from being in community. We get courage by being in community. And so when we recognize that, we say, ooh, I'm feeling alone. I'm lacking in confidence and courage. Get into community. When I think of what started to give me the courage to start singing as part of my speaking, I went through a professional speaker training called Heroic Public Speaking in 2018. And it was the first time I ever integrated singing and speaking together, ever. And I started to recognize by working with coaches, by working with vocal coaches and improv coaches and performance coaches, by now working with a business coach, working with coaches is a really powerful way that we can build up our own confidence and move through self-doubt. Because what a coach does, if a coach is really good, what a coach does is they allow you to see the goodness in yourself and to bring that out and to put that forward and to say, here's my offering. Here's my offering to the world. Take it or leave it. Some people are going to leave it. You're not for them. Some people think it's weird that I sing. I'm not for them. That's okay. It's all right. You know? So when we recognize that, like, gosh, no matter what, oh, I love Kim. Oh, Kim says I sang a song at my son's rehearsal dinner on a ukulele. Oh, Kim, I'm giving you an applause. This is amazing. Oh, how fun. That is amazing. And I bet your son was over the moon. I bet your son was over the moon that you did that for him. Like, this is what's possible when we're able to move through self-doubt. So again, as we talked about, and if you're coming in late to the show, go back and watch the recording, because we talked about some specific ways of sort of borrowing other people's belief in you, of being able to ask certain questions that get us a clearer, better picture of what it is that we do well. Another thing that I like to encourage people to do is to notice what people thank you for most often. What do people consistently thank you for that you probably, this is what we do when someone thanks us or appreciates us or recognizes us or praises us. We're like, oh, that's nothing. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. When someone praises you, when someone says, oh my gosh, you just really did XYZ so well, or I love the way you do ABC, say thank you. Oh gosh, thank you. And then you could ask a deeper question to dig deeper. What is it about that specifically, about the way that I do that has that impact on you, or that's so meaningful to you? Specificity really helps give us clarity. So when we ask a question like that, notice, what do people thank you for most often? It's probably something that you take for granted. It's probably something that you're like, that's not a big deal. Isn't everyone good at that? No, everyone is not good at the thing you're good at. Everyone is not good at it. Accept it and receive it. Receive it, receive it. Oh, Erin, thank you for being here today. Yeah, exactly. Tom says best part of being an adult is choosing who you are and who you want to hang out with. So be intentional about hanging out with people that are going to be supportive of the version of you that you want to become. Like, that is so crucial to do that. These are ways that build confidence. And I want to invite you to think about what is one little step you can take to move forward in a thing that you're maybe holding back on. Kate LaDon, who's a coach I met several years ago, one of the things that she said, she's very active here on LinkedIn as well. She said, sloppy success is better than perfect inaction. Sloppy success is better than perfect inaction. It is better to try the thing and do the thing and iterate as you go and get better as you go. If you have nothing to improve upon, you cannot improve because you haven't done the thing. If you haven't done anything, you can't make it any better. So at a certain point, you got to start doing the thing, right? You got to start doing the thing. That's awesome. Maria, I love that. If you have any questions about moving through self-doubt, let me know. Drop it in the comments. I would love to answer your questions. And curious if anyone wants to drop in a feeling that they have about the response you got from your friend or whoever you texted. And Tom says, even falling on your face is progress. Like, at some point, you just got to say, do I want to make this work or not? Do I want to give it a shot? Because if you remember when we talked to Dan Pink back in January, he said that regrets of inaction are far more common than regrets of action. We regret what we didn't do more than what we did do. The number one regret of people at the end of their life on their deathbed, this is according to the book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware, the number one regret people have, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Number one regret. Like, these are around, eating my microphone here. These regrets are around doubt, like moving through self-doubt and moving into courage. That's what they're about. And so part of it is just letting ourselves know, like, you've got this. If you fall flat on your face, you've got to be on your own darn team. You can remind yourself, even if there's nobody else around, if you fall flat on your face, I've got you. If you fall flat on your face, I've got you. Like, at least be on your own team, even if you don't feel like anybody else is. I'm so glad. Maria says, these are the exercises I look forward to attending live shows like these. That's the thing, right? Bring in value, hopefully. Toby says, you have to be willing to tell people who you want to be so they can help you to get to be that version of you. Yeah. I have coaches that I work with. Like, there's a guy who has been on the show, Mike Ganino, who I'm working with to rework a keynote speech. And, a challenge we've had is I've said, look, I feel this need to still be so corporate with how I do things and have my training and my objectives and because that's how I've always been. And he's like, if you want to be a transformational speaker, which I believe that I am and I want to continue to be more and more of, like, you've got to get this idea that you're a corporate trainer out of your head. And I'm like, oof, that's something I'm working through right now. We all have these experiences of doubt. And we all have these things that cause us to hold ourselves back in some way. And it's a choice. At a certain point, we get to choose. Who do I want to be right now? So I'm going to ask you to drop in the comments as you think about this. I'm going to share one more song, and I will answer any other questions. Was there a question from Kara or Marie or Mary? There was somebody, maybe Mary a little while back. Lean into being imperfect. Yes, Veda. Drop in the comments, I want to be the type of person who. So complete the sentence. I want to be the type of person who. Fill in the blank. I want to be the type of person who, when I think about growing up, I could tell myself a story. I'm not the type of person who goes on stage. Now I say, I want to be the type of person who says yes to every opportunity to share my heart and my message. I want to be the type of person who, Tim is so fast. I want to be the type of person who shows up with courage in the face of fear. I want to be the type of person who puts in the work and does the reps and gets the coaching and practices the art and the craft so I can get better. I want to be the type of person who allows myself to be imperfect when I'm in the midst of growth. What kind of person do you want to be? This is a conscious choice. And you ask yourself the question, what kind of person do I want to be, and what would that person do in this situation? If I say, I want to be the type of person who shows up with courage in the face of fear, and I'm in a situation where I'm facing fear, the decision I get to make is, I'm the type of person who shows up with courage. What would that type of person do right now? And then I act from that place. I want to be the type of person who stops second guessing that I am qualified to do the work I'm passionate about. Yes, Michelle. Because Michelle, you are the only person on the entire planet who will ever be, and who has ever been, who has your unique set of skills and perspectives and life experiences and insights and relationships and thoughts and feelings. There will never be somebody who has the exact combination of all the things you have ever. And if you don't do what you're called to do, no one can ever be you. No one can ever do that. I want to be the type of person who lights up the room with joy because I live in joy. Beautiful, Toby. I experience you in that way whenever I get to interact with you, even if it's in a virtual room. Maureen, I want to be the type of person who consistently shows up to grow. Veda, I want to be the type of person who does it afraid. Right? We've heard the phrase, feel the fear and do it anyway. Tom, I want to be the type of person who has positive impact, inspiring the best in others. Amanda, I want to be the type of person who can advocate for herself. And how about this, even dropping the word can? I want to be the type of person who advocates for herself. So it's not even a matter of, can I do it? Oh, I can. I am. These are, what you all are saying here, these are identity statements. We're making fundamental shifts in our identity. And oftentimes when we think about goal setting, it's not a matter of like, oh, I don't know what the right goal is. I don't have clarity about who I am and what kind of person I want to be. Jill says, I want to be the type of person who cares for and collaborates with others and takes care of myself. Leonard, I want to be the type of person who makes others feel supported and never alone. Marie, I want to be the type of person who doesn't feel guilty putting my dreams and desires out front. Yes, yes, yes. Or maybe we can flip it to a positive opposite. I want to be the type of person who feels excited and who feels empowered by putting my dreams and desires out front. Kamal, I'm the type of person who will take risks with wisdom, courage, and be fearless. And Stephen, I want to be the type of person who can live without regrets and make a lasting impact on others, lasting positive impact on others. Do you see the power of this? Like, do you already feel, I'm hoping that as a result, you can say, I do in the comments if you're feeling this way. If you already feel a little bit more confident, if you already feel a little less self-doubt as a result of just stepping into this space of self-reflection and getting clarity around who you are, Jennifer says, I want to show up with positive energy and be someone who is supportive of those around me. So when you're in a moment, right, where you have to make a decision, ooh, I want to be the type of person who shows up with positive energy and is supportive of those around me. What would that person do right now? Do that thing. Do that thing. So it's like taking these steps. This is what you have the capacity to do, to remind yourself, right? To remind yourself that, oh, I have this in me. This has always been in me. Or I'm developing this, or I'm working on this. And we're all works in progress. We're all works in progress. So just recognizing that. All right, Yolanda's got it. Carla, Buddy, Marie, Veda, Tim, Marie. Yes, 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 yes. So I promised I'd sing 2 songs. Y'all want to hear one more song? I'll tell you the story behind it. I've shared it here on LinkedIn before, but I recently, due to the encouragement and nudging of my dad, he was like, you should try out for a talent show, one of these TV talent shows. I'm like, Dad, I don't want to do that with my life. Like, I don't know. There's so many people that are so much more qualified. He's like, just give it a try. So I'm not going to say what it is yet. I don't know if anything's going to happen with it. Who's to say? Whatever's meant to be will be. I'm not hung up on I don't really have any expectation around it, candidly. But I did a virtual audition for a show, and I had 90 seconds in this room singing a cappella. Everyone has 90 seconds, and you sing for a producer, and then they can't really give you feedback because it's supposed to be like sort of like agnostic. And then you just sort of wait to hear from them. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But the point is, I did the thing, right? I said yes, and I did the thing. I tried out for the show, and like, who cares if I make it or not? I did it. And maybe I won't make it this time. Maybe I'll make it when I try it my 7th time. Who knows? But at least it's a matter of showing up and trying. So this is a song that I sang. It's a song I'm going to sing a cappella, okay? And it's a song that I think is a perfect summary of this conversation today about self-doubt and about looking into the future with hope and looking into the future with a sense of possibility and imagining what could be. So give me 1 second. Let me just do a little quick vocal trill here. One moment. All right. This is a song that when I was growing up, I really loved. It was my first movie I think I ever watched. My dad said I would sit on the floor and flap my wings like I was whenever the flying monkeys would go on the screen. And a week and a half ago when I was at this women's retreat that I was speaking at, I did a Q&A session at the end. And I just thought I was going to answer some questions. And I had sung a part of a song earlier in the day, the gospel choir bit that I sang on here about a year ago. And somebody raised her hand. She goes, "Sing us another song." Now, mind you, I did not have another song prepared. And the acoustics in this room were not such that I could have a backtrack. I had to sing something a cappella, and I had to sing it on the spot. The 20-year-ago version of me would have been like, "Oh, no, I'm not ready. No." And I would have sat down and shrunk down, and I would have said no when I was called to courage. But this version of me said, "You're talking about unmuting yourself, Rachel, and someone just asked you to unmute yourself. So why don't you go ahead and do the thing?" So I'm going to go ahead and share with you the song that I sang for all of them. All right, so here we go. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops way above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, yeah. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why, then why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I? So, friends, go for your dreams. Do the thing. Step forward in the face of fear. Borrow other people's belief in you. Remind yourself that you've made it through every hard thing so far, and you'll make it through every hard thing in the future. I promise you that you will. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for spreading and sharing your light and your joy. I'm feeling that. I hope that you're feeling encouraged and empowered. Drop in the comments a word that you're feeling right now. What is one word that you're feeling as we wrap this show today? One word that you're feeling that captures how you're feeling right now as we're ending today's episode of Unmute Yourself. We've talked about how we can overcome self-doubt and show up in the world the way that we are meant to show up, in the way that only you can show up. Oh, Melody, so good to see you here. Oh, a word that you're feeling right now: inspired, peace, grateful. I love this. Starting off the week on a good note. Oh, thank you, Rich. It's so good to have you here. Blessed, grateful, feeling love, feeling happy. How are you feeling right now? Tap into that. Feeling fortunate, feeling peaceful, empowered. All caps, exclamation point. Yes. Oh, what a joy. What a joy. Tag someone in the comments who might have missed the show but would benefit from listening to this episode today. You can always take the link of the show and from your search bar and send it to somebody who might need this message today, a friend, a coworker, somebody who might just need to be encouraged, to remind them that they have these beautiful gifts inside of them. Oh, Thomas, good to see you here. Soaring, grateful, capable, uplifted, peaceful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, in 2 weeks, on April 3rd, I believe it is, we're going to be having a guy named Bob Dalton, who's the CEO of a company called Sackcloth and Ashes, and they have an incredible mission. This group, it was started through a LinkedIn post that a guy named Darren shared that led to this connection. And I just know all of you are going to walk away from that show feeling like, wow, uplifted in a whole new way with a whole new perspective. You're going to feel hopeful. You're going to feel inspired. All of the things that we hope you always feel when you leave these conversations and these shows. So again, make sure you tag someone who would benefit from hearing this conversation today. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you all for sharing your hearts and all the emojis and all the support. I really, really appreciate it. And I am feeling complete and grateful and really filled up right now. So thank you all so, so much. Have a fantastic Monday and have a great rest of your week. Bye, everybody.